Charles Remington, a wealthy man, sees a humble delivery driver, exhausted but unwavering, cradling his sick little daughter with a love so pure it melts the coldest walls. In that brief, heart-stopping moment, an unseen miracle is set into motion, a chain of events that will turn despair into hope, loneliness into community, and a life of riches into one filled with meaning. What happens next? A journey of healing, compassion, and undeniable magic unfolds, promising that one small act of kindness can indeed change the world. Before we start the story, leave a comment to let us know where you're watching from. Like and subscribe to support our community. Your support means a lot to us. Now, enjoy the story as we continue. Charles Remington woke up early that crisp autumn morning as the first pale rays of sunlight peeked through the tall, glass windows of his luxury penthouse. Every day, he followed a regimented routine. Coffee in his favorite mug, a glance at international news, and then a moment of quiet contemplation about his vast responsibilities. Yet, despite all the wealth and accolades, Charles felt an emptiness in his heart that no boardroom victory or lavish gala could fill. Across town, in a modest neighborhood lined with worn brick houses and hopeful smiles, Sam Jackson rose with the sun as well. Sam's modest apartment was filled with the soft, gentle sounds of a child's dreams. His daughter, Lily, was still asleep, a fragile, peaceful presence. Today, like every day, Sam prepared for his long shift as a delivery driver. Though money was scarce and the day promised many challenges, Sam's heart was rich with compassion. He whispered to Lily, "Stay strong, sweetheart. Daddy is going to make today a little bit better for us." Even in their struggle, his love lit up the darkest corners of their small world. That morning, fate had already begun its gentle, unseen work. As the city awoke and the busy streets filled with people racing through their routines, Sam's delivery truck rumbled softly through neighborhoods, carrying small packages, warm meals, and a sense of humble hope. His interactions were kind and genuine. Smiles exchanged, a helping hand offered to an elderly neighbor, and a few kind words that brightened a cold day. Sam's life was hard, but his soul sang with the simple pleasures of human connection. Meanwhile, on a different side of the city, Charles's chauffeured car glided silently along the avenue. His mind, usually occupied by numbers and strategic decisions, today became distracted. Looking out of the window, Charles felt an odd tug in his chest, a curiosity, as if something was beckoning him to see beyond the glitter of his world. It happened near a busy intersection when a flash of a humble scene caught his eye. There, across a crowded crosswalk, he saw Sam gently lift his arm and cradle a small figure in his arms. It was Lily, who lay bundled against the cold, her eyes closed as if in deep, fragile slumber. In that quiet moment, everything seemed to pause. The bustling noise dimmed, and even the city's hurried pace softened. Charles, normally so composed, felt his heart race and his thoughts stir with questions. Who was this man? What kind of life led him to care for his child so selflessly amidst hardship? For a fleeting minute, Charles's world of polished marble and elegant propriety merged with the rough-edged, heartfelt reality of a struggling delivery driver. In that merging, he recognized something he had long forgotten: the pure, unadulterated power of love and compassion. It wasn't the wealth or the accolades that made life worthwhile. It was these moments of shared humanity that lit up the soul. The image of Sam cradling Lily remained with Charles throughout the morning. At his office, a room filled with modern art and floor-to-ceiling windows, the philanthropist's colleagues marveled at his brilliant mind and strategic decisions. Yet, today Charles couldn't shake the image from his mind. He began to wonder, was there more to life than ledgers and charity galas? Was there a miracle in caring for someone, no matter how small or seemingly inconsequential that act might seem? As midday approached, Charles found himself distracted by a growing curiosity. He left his meeting unexpectedly, much to the surprise of his aides. Instead of returning to the comfort of his high-rise office, he felt an inner pull to understand the mysterious human connection he had witnessed. He had no idea that this very decision would set him on a path that would alter not only his own life, but also the lives of many in the community. With purposeful steps, Charles made his way to the part of the city he rarely visited, a neighborhood of modest homes, colorful street murals, and people whose smiles shone despite life's hardships. Passing by familiar landmarks of charity kitchens, community gardens, and local markets, his heart pounded with anticipation. On a sun-dappled street, he finally saw the humble service station where Sam often took a short break during his delivery rounds. Charles paused before the red door, nervously smoothing the edges of his crisp suit. Inside, he found the comforting buzz of everyday life. A small group sharing a laugh, the scent of brewed coffee mingling with whispered conversations, and behind it all, a kind-eyed man who seemed to embody perseverance. Sam was there, engaged in soft conversation with a neighbor, his eyes reflecting both worry and determination. Their eyes met briefly. For a moment, neither spoke a word. Only silent acknowledgement passed between them. In that look, Charles saw a story of struggle, love, and quiet heroism. He gathered his courage and approached Sam. "Excuse me," Charles began, his voice gentle but resonant in the warm room. "I couldn't help but notice something about you this morning. The way you cared for your little girl. It was very moving." Sam's surprise melted into a modest, shy smile. "Thank you, sir. I'm just doing what I can. Every parent has to, right?" That simple exchange, the warm greeting, the nod of understanding, was the beginning of an unlikely friendship. Charles found himself drawn to Sam's honesty, and Sam, in turn, saw a depth in Charles that belied his polished exterior. They talked for a few minutes about the small trials of everyday life, the challenges of keeping hope alive, the difficulties of unexpected hardships, and the small miracles that sometimes slipped into the ordinary days. For Charles, that conversation was a revelation. He realized that despite his success, his life had been missing the genuine connections that made every sunrise precious. And for Sam, the kindness of a stranger meant more than he could ever say. It was a spark of encouragement that brightened an already tough day. Little did they know, this unexpected meeting was the first domino in a long chain of events. With hearts slowly opening and stories beginning to intertwine, each was set upon a path that would lead to not only the healing of broken lives, but also the blossoming of a community built on compassion, understanding, and love. The early morning sky was a soft shade of blue when Sam Jackson began his day. In his small apartment on the edge of a lively neighborhood, Sam woke to the gentle sound of birds chirping outside the window. Though his surroundings were modest and sometimes worn by life's challenges, every detail of his day was touched by a quiet strength and hope. Sam started his morning by carefully waking his little daughter, Lily. With a gentle smile and a soft whisper, he said, "Good morning, my little star. Today is a new day full of promise." Lily's eyes fluttered open, and even though she still felt the weight of her sickness, the warmth of her father's voice helped ease her discomfort. Sam's calm presence made their modest home feel like the safest place in the world. Before leaving for work, Sam prepared a simple breakfast. Today, it was a bowl of oatmeal mixed with a little bit of honey, a small treat to make the morning extra bright. As he sat at the worn kitchen table, he looked at a small picture on the wall, a photograph of him with his family, taken in happier times. This picture reminded him that love and hope were always around, even during the toughest challenges. After saying goodbye to Lily with a loving hug, Sam stepped outside and locked the door of his apartment. His faithful delivery truck, painted in a cheerful, bright color, awaited him just around the corner. For Sam, every package and parcel he delivered was more than just an item. It was a small piece of someone's story, a little bit of happiness sent from one heart to another. He started his engine as the city slowly came to life. The streets were busy and colorful, neighbors chatting on sidewalks, vendors arranging fresh fruit on market stalls, and children giggling on their way to school. Sam waved kindly at everyone he met, and his warm smile sparked friendly greetings in return. Although his journey was long and sometimes exhausting, Every smile reminded him that each day had small victories worth celebrating. As the delivery truck rolled down the winding streets, Sam's day unfolded like a tapestry of simple yet heartfelt interactions. At one stop, he delivered a package to an elderly woman known for her delicious, freshly baked cookies. The woman's eyes twinkled as she invited him inside, insisting he try a warm cookie before he continued on his way. "It's the best way to drive away the cold," she said, and Sam left with more than just a box of treats. He left with a boost of joy that carried him further into the day. At another house, a young boy waited eagerly by the door, his small hands reaching for the box Sam was handing over. "Thank you, sir," the boy said with a grin that lit up his face. Moments like these reminded Sam that even if life was filled with hardships, each act of kindness could brighten someone else's life. Every door Sam knocked on, every smile exchanged, slowly built a mosaic of hope throughout the neighborhood. As the day grew warmer and the city buzzed with energy, Sam's deliveries took him through different parts of town. He stopped to help a small shopkeeper who struggled to keep his store tidy, assisting by moving heavy boxes and even chatting with the shopkeeper about his own dreams and worries. In return, the shopkeeper gave Sam a heartfelt thank you and a few extra words of encouragement that lifted his spirits. Despite the constant rush and the long list of addresses, Sam's heart was never too busy for a kind word or a listening ear. When he noticed a stranger sitting on a park bench, looking tired and alone, he pulled over and offered to share a warm drink from a small thermos he always carried for the chilly mornings. The stranger's eyes filled with gratitude, and a quiet moment passed between them. A moment that told stories of loneliness turned into comfort by the power of unexpected kindness. While Sam's day was filled with these small acts of care, the weight of his own worries lay quietly beneath the surface. Every mile he drove was also a mile traveled with the thoughts of how to secure a better future for Lily. The hospital bills and the endless chase for the care she needed haunted his quiet moments, yet he never allowed despair to settle. Instead, with each kind deed, he collected hope as if it were a precious treasure, a treasure that he believed one day would bring about a great change. Sam's evenings were typically spent in quiet reflection. After his long shift, he would return home, park his delivery truck in a small lot, and sit with Lily as she slept, watching over her with a silent promise that tomorrow he would do it all over again. In those peaceful hours, Sam would often daydream about a world where hard work and kindness led to miracles, where every smile, every gentle gesture could change someone's destiny for the better. Not far from Sam's route, echoes of his humble actions began weaving their own subtle magic throughout the community. People started noticing that the delivery driver was not like the rest. He had a spark of generosity that spread warmth in a way that few could understand. Neighbors began to share stories of how Sam had gone out of his way to help, whether it was carrying groceries for a tired elder or taking the extra minute to listen to someone in need. His reputation grew not by grand gestures, but through countless small acts of genuine care. One cool afternoon, as he delivered a package to a community center hosting a small event, Sam encountered a group of children playing happily together. They invited him to join their game, and for a few magical minutes, all worries vanished. Sam laughed, ran around with the children, and for one fleeting moment, his burdens lifted in the innocence of play. That day, a simple ball game became a reminder that joy could be found in the simplest of moments, a truth that resonated deeply within his soul. Even with all these tender moments, life was never easy for Sam. There were days when the cold wind felt like a harsh reminder of his financial struggles, and nights when the hospital waiting rooms tested his patience and resolve. Yet, through every hardship, his love for Lily and his belief in humanity's capacity for kindness kept him going. The hardships he faced were not just physical, they were emotional as well. And yet, he managed each day with resilience and a quiet smile. One evening, as twilight enveloped the streets in a soft, comforting glow, Sam sat in his truck during a brief break. He took a moment to write a small note on a piece of paper, a note of thanks for every kind soul who had helped him along the way. He believed that gratitude could spread like light in darkness, a sentiment that fueled his every interaction. He tucked that note into the glove compartment, as if storing it for a day when he needed to remember that every act, no matter how small, contributed to the mosaic of hope in his life. The long days and gentle nights shaped Sam into a symbol of hope for many. His simple acts of kindness were like tiny seeds planted in the hearts of those he encountered. Over time, these seeds began to grow, nurtured by the community's shared struggles and collective spirit. Stories about the caring delivery driver spread from one neighbor to another, and soon people started looking up to him, not as a hero with superpowers, but as an ordinary man who chose kindness and love over despair and indifference. As the days passed, Sam's work evolved into something much bigger than scheduled deliveries. It became a living lesson in compassion. Families, inspired by his example, began to help each other out. Neighbors shared home-cooked meals, offered rides to those in need, and made sure that no one in the community felt alone or forgotten. In these unexpected alliances, something beautiful was happening. A sense of community began to bloom where isolation once held sway. Each day, driving through the city, Sam collected new stories of joy and sorrow, a rich tapestry of life that he quietly observed and sometimes even joined. From a warm conversation with a weathered shopkeeper to a fleeting smile exchanged with a stranger on a rainy day. Every encounter added a stroke to the larger picture of hope and the miracle of human connection. In the quiet hours after his deliveries, as the stars glistened above his modest home, Sam would often sit and reflect on the day. He thought about the people he had met, the small acts of kindness exchanged, and the way a simple word or smile could brighten even the darkest of moments. These reflections were his true treasures, reminders that no matter how difficult life seemed, every act of compassion held the promise of a better tomorrow. Sam's journey as a delivery driver was not just about moving parcels from one place to another. It was a journey of the heart. He was a traveler on the road of life, carrying not just packages, but also the unspoken promise that hope was real and that no one was ever truly alone. His actions, though small in appearance, were the building blocks of a great foundation of trust, love, and resilience in the community. As the chapter of this day neared its end, Sam felt a quiet reassurance in knowing that every struggle, every challenge, was a step towards something greater. He believed that even the smallest act of kindness could spark a ripple that could one day grow into a wave of change. This belief was what kept him going through hard times and encouraged him to dream of a future where every person's kindness would help heal the wounds of the world. When Sam finally settled down for the night, he hugged Lily close, whispering promises of a brighter day. And as he closed his eyes, his mind was filled with the comforting thought that every day was a page waiting to be written in a story of hope, a story in which love, compassion, and selfless kindness were the heroes. Early in the morning, before the first light touched the city, Charles Remington awoke in his spacious, elegant bedroom. His home, filled with magnificent artworks and elegant furniture, was a world away from the everyday streets that Sam cared for with hope and hard work. Yet, inside Charles's heart, there was a quiet echo of something missing, a dream from his younger self, when things seemed simpler and his heart beat for true connection, not just fortune and success. Charles had spent many years building his empire. His bank accounts grew, and his reputation as a brilliant businessman was known far and wide. Every day, he would attend important meetings, sign documents for huge deals, and host grand dinners for influential people. His work filled his schedule from sunrise to sunset, and his world was one of luxurious isolation. Despite all the praise and applause, Charles often felt like he was watching life from behind a thick glass wall. There was a loneliness in his victories, a distance that kept him away from the very people he wished to truly understand. In quiet moments, when he sat in his vast study with only the ticking clock for company, he remembered the dreams of his youth. A dream of a world full of laughter, heartfelt conversations, and real human warmth. Charles's childhood had been different from the life he led now. He had grown up in a small town where everyone knew each other, and neighbors helped one another without a second thought. Those times were filled with playground games, shared secrets, and a community built on trust and care. As he grew older and moved into the big city, the fast pace and the glimmer of wealth slowly pushed his old dreams to the background. Yet, like a small, soft light in the dark, that desire for genuine human connection never completely faded. Every time Charles attended one of his many charity galas, he noticed that something was missing. The enormous events, the speeches, and the lavish donations did not fill the gap inside him. They felt like golden decorations on a tree without real roots, beautiful to look at, but without the warmth of true belonging. Charles's journey to becoming a respected philanthropist was not free of pain. In his younger years, he had lost people he cared about dearly. Those losses, hidden deep within his heart, taught him that even with all the money in the world, some pain could not be bought away. The lost laughter, the silent tears at night, and memories of friends who once believed in his dreams reminded him that life was about more than just success. Late at night, while the grand city hummed quietly below his high-rise window, Charles would sit by himself and wander through old photo albums. Black and white pictures of simpler times, with smiling faces, handmade gifts, and community picnics, fell from the pages like soft whispers of a time when life was full of genuine care. Looking at these photographs, he felt both grateful for what he had achieved and sorrowful for the genuine connections he had lost along the way. Behind his well-rehearsed public image, Charles was on a personal quest. Every philanthropic project he sponsored was a step toward bridging the gap between his public persona and his hidden heart. He dreamed of using his influence and resources to build something lasting. A community project that would do more than fill bank accounts. One that would gather people together and remind them that love was the true treasure of life. One crisp evening, as Charles walked by a community center he had recently funded, he paused to look inside. He saw children playing, elders chatting happily, and faces lit by smiles that money alone could never buy. In that moment, he felt a stir of something deep inside, a longing to be a part of that scene, to be one of those hearts that shared hope, rather than an observer behind a barrier of wealth. Days later, while attending yet another high-profile meeting, Charles found his thoughts drifting back to that moment. He couldn't get the image of the community center out of his mind. The sounds of laughter, the aroma of freshly baked bread from a nearby shop, and the simple joy that lit up faces. The memory of Sam Jackson and his caring nature began to merge with those recollections of childhood warmth. It was as if the universe was gently nudging him, urging him to take one brave step toward genuine connection. Even though he was used to solving large problems with numbers and grand strategies, Charles decided that this time he would solve a different kind of challenge, the one inside his own heart. He started visiting the small projects he had sponsored, not just with a business suit and a checklist, but with open eyes, listening ears, and a sincere smile. Everywhere he went, he discovered not just need, but beauty. People who hoped for a better day, who believed in kindness, and who welcomed him with stories of struggle and resilience. One day, as Charles sat quietly in a modest community garden he had helped to create, he listened to the joyful shouts of children playing and the gentle hum of conversations between neighbors. There, a moment of silence spoke volumes. His riches had given him power, but it was these very human connections that filled his soul with real meaning. In that garden, every blooming flower and every shared laugh was a testament to the simple truth that true wealth was measured not by bank accounts, but by love, community, and hope. Charles began to understand that what he longed for was not just to give money, but to give his heart away in service of others. This was the seed of his transformation, a shift from a life of solitary success to one of shared happiness. He started to form genuine friendships with the people he had once simply donated to. He listened to their stories, celebrated their victories, and mourned their losses. The grand halls of corporate power were slowly replaced by lively community centers where every soul was valued. Over time, Charles transformed from being a distant, wealthy figure to a beloved mentor and friend within the community. His public appearances became more heartfelt. No longer a polished speech, but heartfelt conversations that brought smiles and even tears of joy. He shared his own stories of loss and longing, admitting that money could not replace the need for love and friendship. With every honest conversation, he removed another layer of the guarded persona he had built over many years. As Charles stepped outside of the gilded life he had known, he discovered a world rich with stories of simple miracles. He learned that in the ordinary lives of people like Sam Jackson and their neighbors, there were extraordinary acts of courage, kindness, and love. And in seeing these acts, he began to piece together a new picture of what it meant to be truly successful. Every day brought a new chapter in his personal journey. He began working side by side with community volunteers, using his resources and influence to create programs that brought people together. Storytelling nights, community gardens, and art workshops that celebrated the voices of the people. Each new project was a brick in the foundation of a future where everyone was seen, heard, and cared for. As the days turned into weeks, Charles found that the very things he had once thought were his strengths, his cold logic and meticulous planning, could be softened by a warm heart. His empathy blossomed as he learned to listen with both his ears and his soul. He began to feel the joy of simplicity, a joy that had been hidden beneath layers of ambition and duty for so long. It was during these moments that he recalled the day he had watched Sam Jackson cradling his sick daughter. That memory, as vivid as a spark in the dark, had been the catalyst that set him on this new journey. In Sam's quiet perseverance and unwavering care, Charles saw the purest form of hope and the possibility of miracles that came from the simplest acts of love. Now, in the soft embrace of evening light, Charles promised himself that he would never let the sparkle of genuine human connection fade from his life again. He understood that miracles were not made solely by grand gestures, but were born in the little moments, a smile shared with a stranger, a kind word to a friend, and a shoulder to lean on during hard times. By the time night settled over the city, Charles felt a deep peace that he had never known before. He knew that his journey was just beginning, a long path filled with challenges, heartbreaks, and, most importantly, discoveries of love that could mend even the deepest scars. In embracing his true self, he had unknowingly lit the way for others to do the same. Charles Remington's transformation was more than a personal change. It was the spark that would eventually kindle a chain of miracles in the community. As he gently closed his eyes that night, the memories of his past mingled with hopes for a future where every person, regardless of their status, could find a home in the warmth of shared love and kindness. It was a bright, sunny day when fate gently brought Charles Remington and Sam Jackson together once more. Charles had been visiting one of the many community projects he now supported, trying to see the effects of kindness he had always hoped for. Sam, on the other hand, was busy making his deliveries, his cheerful truck painting the streets with hope. Charles found himself walking along a park lined with blooming flowers and happy children playing. The warm air filled him with a familiar sense of simplicity and joy. As he walked, his mind wandered to memories of the kind moments he had witnessed before, especially the image of Sam cradling his sick daughter, Lily. His heart felt light, as if each step was gently guided by memories of compassion. Just then, around the corner near the park bench, Charles saw someone struggling to help an elderly man who had dropped his small package on the sidewalk. Without even thinking, Charles stepped forward to lend a hand. He reached the fallen package and bent down to help pick it up. As he handed it back to the grateful old man, he noticed another helping hand moving quickly to assist. Looking up, Charles saw Sam's familiar warm smile and kind eyes. Sam was already bending down to help the elderly man stand up. His gentle, careful manner and his kind expression reminded everyone watching just how much heart he put into every moment, no matter how small or hurried. Charles felt an instant connection in that simple act of generosity. It was as if the caring spark he saw in Sam that first day had grown even brighter. "Hello," Charles said, trying to hide the wonder in his voice. "You have a very special way of making everything better." Sam looked up and, with a genuine smile, replied, "Thank you, sir. I just try to help whenever I can." His voice, warm and friendly, carried no hint of pride, only the simple truth of someone who believed in kindness. Standing by the park bench, Charles and Sam began to talk. They discussed the little moments of life that often make the biggest differences. Sam told him about the challenges of being a delivery driver and caring for his daughter, Lily. He spoke simply about his everyday struggles and his dreams for a better tomorrow, a tomorrow filled with hope and community. Charles listened intently, his heart growing heavy with empathy. He shared with Sam some of his own experiences from long ago when he had wished for a life of genuine connection. In that moment, their worlds merged. The rich philanthropist with his careful, sometimes lonely, plans now saw the real power of heartfelt action in the everyday heroism of a humble delivery driver. They talked for what felt like hours, though in reality, only minutes passed. Charles learned about the many small acts of kindness that defined Sam's life. Sam learned that behind Charles's quiet, polished exterior, there was a sincere desire to connect and make a difference. Their conversation was filled with stories of hope, difficulties, and little miracles that tied their lives together in the most unexpected way. When their conversation came to a pause, both men realized that this encounter had changed something deep within them. Charles thought back to the lonely days in his luxurious home and the empty success that had never satisfied him. He now saw that true wealth was not measured by money, but by the warmth shared between people. Sam, who often felt the heavy weight of responsibilities, found strength in knowing that others cared for his dreams and struggles. Before parting ways, Charles looked into Sam's kind eyes and said, "I believe that today, something important has happened. I want to be more involved, more present, in helping to spread the kindness you bring to this community. Maybe together we can make an even bigger difference." Sam, touched by the sincere promise from someone he once thought was far away in another world, replied, "I'd like that very much. Kindness does grow when we share it. I'm happy you're here." They exchanged a gentle handshake and a heartfelt smile, sealing a promise of friendship and collaboration that promised to blend their lives for the betterment of others. After that chance meeting, a new chapter had truly started in both of their lives. Charles was no longer just a man with riches looking out from behind a gilded wall. He was now a friend, a helper, and a believer in the power of every small, kind act. And for Sam, it meant that his struggles might now be lightened by the support of someone who understood the value of every caring gesture. As the sun began to dip low in the sky, painting the park in soft oranges and pinks, their hearts remained alight with the promise of what was to come. In that brief encounter, the seeds of collaboration and sincere friendship were planted, destined to blossom into miracles that would soon embrace the entire community. The days after Charles and Sam's unexpected meeting were filled with a quiet excitement, a feeling that something wonderful was beginning to grow. With the promise of friendship in their hearts, both men started to work together, sharing small but meaningful acts of kindness that spread hope like seeds carried on the wind. Every morning, as the sun rose over the quiet streets, Charles and Sam found ways to support their community. Charles, who was used to a life of well-organized plans and big speeches, now realized that even the smallest help could make a big difference. He began to visit local community centers, parks, and neighborhood cafes where people gathered. There, he listened to their stories and dreams while sharing his own experiences of learning about true kindness. Sam continued his busy work as a delivery driver, but now he felt a refreshing sense of support on his journey. With Charles's help, Sam discovered that his little acts of care, like holding open a door or smiling at a stranger, were like tiny drops of rain that helped everyone's garden of hope grow. Each kind word and every simple smile began to make their everyday world a little brighter. One breezy afternoon, Charles and Sam decided to start a small garden in a corner of a community center park. They believed that nature, like kindness, flourished when taken care of. Together, they dug little holes in the soft earth, carefully planted seeds of colorful flowers and bright vegetables, and watered them with hope. The project was simple. It became a symbol of how one caring action could sprout more goodness. Children, elders, and neighbors began to visit the garden, each person adding their own special touch. A group of children giggled as they watered the plants with little watering cans. An elderly man knelt down and gently touched the fresh soil, sharing a story about gardens in his youth. Soon, the garden wasn't just a patch of land. It was a living, growing monument to all the kind things that people could do together. The garden was only the beginning. Inspired by the sight of tiny seeds turning into flourishing flowers, other neighbors started their own projects. One woman set up a small book exchange at the local library, while another organized a weekly community dinner where everyone shared a meal and laughter. The simple act of helping one another began to spread like ripples in a pond, growing larger with each new connection. Charles found himself at the heart of these changes. No longer sitting in a luxurious office, he was out there with the people, listening and learning. He saw that success was no longer about money or status, but about caring for each other and building a better future together. He began to use a part of his fortune to fund local classes, art projects, and sports events, all designed to bring people together and create spaces where every voice could be heard. Sam, too, felt a change inside him. Every time he made a delivery, he knew that someone was counting on him, not just for a package, but for the small, caring ways he made their day a little brighter. His days were still filled with hard work, but now they were also filled with moments of genuine connection and hope. It was as if the seeds of kindness he had planted were returning to him in the form of smiles and gratitude from those he met. Late one evening, as a gentle rain fell and the garden glistened under streetlights, Charles and Sam sat side by side on a little bench near the community center. The soft sound of raindrops mixed with distant laughter from a nearby group of children. In that peaceful moment, Charles turned to Sam and said, "Look at what we have built together, even if it started with a simple smile and a shared promise." Sam smiled widely and replied, "I always believe that every kind act is like a seed. Sometimes it takes time to grow, but it changes the world one little flower at a time." Their hearts brimmed with joy as they imagined all the possibilities ahead. The simple garden had become a symbol of transformation, a gentle reminder that each person's small actions could spark powerful change. The community was beginning to understand that their strength lay not in their individual struggles, but in the shared love and care they extended to one another. As days turned into weeks, the community garden flourished, mirroring the growth of kindness in every corner of the neighborhood. More people started lending a hand, sharing their stories, and coming together to solve everyday problems. Neighbors who once barely greeted each other now worked side by side, their hearts beating in unison with hope. From cleaning up parks to organizing fun events for local children, the town slowly transformed into a place where care and compassion were valued above all. The miracles were not grand or flashy. They were woven into the fabric of daily life. A shared meal, a kind conversation, and a moment of understanding became the true treasures of the community. As the season of spring turned to summer, the seeds of change sown by Charles and Sam grew into a beautiful, thriving garden of community spirit. The people had learned that every small act of kindness mattered. They discovered that even in the midst of hardships, the heart could always find a way to bloom. Charles no longer felt the emptiness of his earlier life, and Sam's challenges, though still present, were eased by the warmth of the newly united community. They both knew that this was just the beginning of a long, hopeful journey, a journey where the magic of everyday kindness paved the way for unforeseen miracles. The cool mist of an early summer morning had barely lifted when the first true sign of a miracle began. In the heart of the community, where Charles and Sam's shared vision had already sown seeds of change, something extraordinary started to take shape. One act of kindness would soon lead to many more, lighting up even the darkest corners of life. As the sun peeked over the rooftops, its gentle light revealed a town that was slowly coming back to life. Children ran along the sidewalks with bright, beaming faces, their laughter echoing like a joyful song. The community garden, which had started as a simple project, now burst with colors of red, yellow, and blue. Tiny buds had matured into large, vibrant flowers, and the vegetable beds yielded more than anyone had expected. At the community center, a small celebration was taking shape. Neighbors gathered early to set up tables, string up twinkling lights, and prepare for a day of shared joy. It wasn't a grand festival at first glance. Rather, it was a quiet, heartfelt gathering where every person played a part in building a stronger, more caring community. The miracle that would change lives began with a simple yet profound moment. Sam's daughter, Lily, who had long been frail and kept indoors by her illness, was now seen playing in the soft, warm light of the early morning. Neighbors marveled at the sight of her, her cheeks rosy from the fresh air as she carefully helped water the newly planted flowers. For a long time, Lily had been a quiet presence, a small shadow of hope in a challenging journey. Now, her giggles and light steps brought smiles to everyone who watched. Word of Lily's seemingly sudden burst of energy spread quickly through the town. At first, people whispered that it was a small miracle born of the combined care of the community. Doctors and nurses, who had seen many hopeful hearts in their years, began to comment on Lily's steady improvement. Her recovery was not just medical. It was spiritual, as if the wellspring of love and attention from those around her was healing her from inside out. As the morning unfolded, many neighbors experienced miracles of their own. A single smile from a stranger on a park bench turned a gloomy day bright. An elderly woman, once alone in her corner of the neighborhood, received a surprise visit from a group of volunteers who brought her warm soup and gentle conversation. The river of kindness, once a modest trickle, was now a powerful current that flowed through every street and home. The miracles were not limited to physical health. For many, the heartache of loneliness and despair began to lift. Mr. Thompson, a retired man who had often sat silently by his window watching days go by, found himself invited to share stories at a local storytelling circle organized by Charles. His tales of years gone by, full of adventure and wisdom, sparked laughter and tears of joy among his new friends. At the same time, Mrs. Garcia, a widowed baker known for her delicious pastries but also for her sorrow, discovered that the community had planned a surprise thank you day in her honor. Neighbors lined the streets with banners and cards, expressing their gratitude for every loaf of bread and every sweet treat that had nourished not just the body but the soul of the community. Her bakery became a hub of shared memories and renewed hope. Behind every smile and every word of comfort was the steady influence of the two friends who had sparked this transformation. Charles and Sam worked side by side, as equals in their mission, listening to stories, resolving small conflicts, and planning new projects that would help the community continue to grow in unity. Charles, who had once lived in a world of comfortable solitude, now found that his evenings were filled with lively conversations and heartfelt laughter. No longer shrouded by the cold walls of a gilded life, he got his hands dirty with paint and community art projects and even planted a tree or two in the local park. His once formal meetings turned into warm, interactive sessions with volunteers who were excited to see their ideas turn into reality. Sam, too, felt his burdens lighten with every passing day. While the challenges of his work and of caring for Lily were still there, the knowledge that he was not alone made the load much easier to bear. Neighbors, friends, and even people he had met only once on his delivery route now greeted him with nods of respect and words of encouragement. His little acts of kindness had become the heartbeat of a whole community that was determined to help each other rise above hardship. By mid-afternoon, the community center bustled with a vibrant energy that could only be born from shared purpose. A potluck lunch had grown into a festive gathering of people from every walk of life. There were long tables draped in checkered cloths, filled with homemade dishes, and the sound of friendly chatter filled the air. Children performed little skits and sang songs that told stories of their own small miracles, tales of lost toys found, and of kindness given when least expected. In one special moment, Charles took to a small makeshift stage to speak with everyone gathered. His eyes shone with humility and gratitude as he thanked each person for their part in the community's revival. Today, he said gently, we are witnessing real miracles, not because of grand gestures or expensive gifts, but because of the simple, loving ways we help one another. Our strength lies in our hearts, in our willingness to care, and in our belief that every kind act has the power to change a life. There was a pause, and the crowd listened intently, as if each word was a seed being planted in fertile soil. The applause that followed was soft yet resounding, a collective affirmation of their shared dreams. As the day moved toward evening and the golden light gave way to soft twilight, the miracles did not fade. In fact, the sense of hope only grew stronger. Neighbors who had once passed each other by in quiet resignation now actively sought one another out, sharing food, stories, and plans for the future. One group of volunteers decided to build a small library in the park, where children and adults alike could borrow books and learn about each other's worlds. Another group organized evening walks to help seniors who found navigating the streets challenging. It was clear that the spirit of mutual care was infectious, and each new initiative was proof of the miracle that had taken root in their hearts. For Lily and her father, this unfolding miracle meant more than just better health. It meant a future filled with opportunities. Lily's laughter, which had once been a rare sound in their home, grew more frequent, as did the light in her eyes. Her progress inspired many. Doctors marveled at how quickly she was responding to care, and neighbors saw in her recovery a symbol that every small act of kindness truly mattered. Later that night, when the celebrations had quieted down and the stars began to sprinkle the sky with silver, Charles and Sam found a quiet moment to sit together in the community garden. The garden now glowed under the moonlight, each flower a testament to the care and love that had brought it to bloom. Charles looked over the flourishing garden, then at Sam, and said softly, I never imagined that one small moment, the way you cared for your daughter that chilly morning, could lead to so many miracles. It has changed my life and the lives of so many around us. Sam smiled, his eyes filled with the gentle glow of hope. I always believed that every act of kindness counts. Today, we've seen that it can truly create miracles, and I think this is only the beginning. Their words mingled with the cool night air as a gentle breeze rustled through the leaves, as if whispering promises of even brighter days to come. As the night closed in on the little community, everyone in the town carried with them the knowledge that miracles were not magical events reserved for fairy tales. They were everyday happenings, born in the hearts of people who cared. The transformation that had begun with a simple look, a gentle smile, and a caring heart was now a living reality. Everywhere one looked, there were signs of hope. Freshly painted walls in the community center, playful murals on old buildings, and the sound of laughter echoing in places that had once known only silence. And as people retired for the night, they knew that tomorrow would bring even more chances to create, share, and live the miracles of everyday kindness. In the days and weeks that followed, the miracle continued to unfold in countless small ways. The community grew closer, each heart learning that every kind gesture was a promise of a better tomorrow. Even in moments of struggle, the knowledge that they were not alone, that they belonged to a caring, united family, made all the difference. Below is the final chapter and epilogue that wrap up our story of hope, transformation, and miracles. With a heartfelt call to continue your journey of inspiration by subscribing to the Daily Stories channel on YouTube. In the weeks that followed the miracles of that unforgettable summer day, the entire town became a living example of what happens when people come together with open hearts. Neighbors who once walked by, without a word, now shared smiles and warm greetings on every street corner. Small groups gathered in the evening to help those in need, whether it was by tidying up a park, supporting a local business, or organizing fun community activities for children. New projects blossomed all around the town. A newly built community library offered books and a safe space for curious minds. Neighborhood sports days brought laughter and playful competition, reminding everyone that joy can be found in the simplest of moments. Even those who had once felt alone discovered comfort in the bonds of friendship that grew stronger each day. Charles Remington and Sam Jackson, the unlikely friends who had sparked this wave of kindness, continued to lead by example. Charles used his influence to fund projects that turned empty lots into vibrant community hubs, while Sam remained on the front lines, his modest delivery truck now a moving symbol of hope and service. Together, they helped more people discover that every act of care builds bridges between hearts. The healing went beyond physical improvements. The emotional and spiritual uplift of the community shone like a beacon that reached everyone, igniting the understanding that real strength lies in unity, compassion, and the willingness to lend a hand. Slowly but surely, the town transformed into a family, bound not by blood, but by shared dreams and the resolve to make each day better than the last. Years later, when the story of Charles and Sam was told to children on cozy evenings and shared among friends over warm cups of tea, it was remembered as a legend of genuine love and selfless action. The community that had once struggled now thrived, built on the foundation that a small act of kindness could spark a miracle. Parents would remind their children that every kind word and thoughtful deed could change the world. Neighbors celebrated their victories together and faced challenges as one. The legacy of that fateful day, a day when a rich philanthropist's heart was awakened by a delivery driver's simple, loving act, continued to inspire new generations to treasure the gift of human connection. The miracle was not a one-time event, but an ongoing rhythm in the lives of every person in the community, a rhythm powered by hope, shared dreams, and the understanding that love is the truest form of wealth. As our story comes to an end, we invite you to join us and continue sharing in these heartwarming tales of everyday miracles. If you believe that every act of kindness matters and that even the smallest gesture can change a life, then subscribe to the Daily Stories channel on YouTube. By subscribing, you'll gain access to new stories every day that inspire, uplift, and remind us all of the beauty that lies in human connection. Click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and become part of a community that celebrates hope, love, and the magic of everyday miracles. Thank you for following this journey of transformation. We can't wait to share more stories with you. Remember, every day is a chance for a new miracle. Stay inspired. Subscribe now and make your world a little brighter.